Hey, everybody.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and we'll wrap it up with Coach. Natalie, go ahead and kick us off.
Hey, I've been asking all your players, what do you guys think about this team, this ability to get through the tough times this season, split season, COVID-19, all these different things. What do you think it says about this group of girls?
They're pretty tough. I think, yeah, a lot of things have been thrown at them. And, we have 20 hours a week to be training and lifting. And, when you think about it, it's a part-time job on top of being fully enrolled in school as well. And, having friends, social life, boyfriends, all that stuff. So they're doing a really nice job of balancing life while finding ways to constantly improve over a long period of time. And yeah, I think the biggest thing that this group has done really well is acknowledge the situation that we're in and then decide how we feel about it, and decide where our thoughts are going to be going and the direction we're going to be moving in as a unit. And they're doing a really nice job of being disciplined and tough through these hard times. So I've been very, very impressed with this group.
Let's go to Ben Arnett and then Matthew.
Josh, this whole grind has been about getting here now.
Yeah.
So now what's the challenge? I'd say both physically and mentally about getting reset and refreshed and being able to play your best volleyball now.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the hardest things as a coach is getting your group to train at the level they need to train at to be successful. And, I think a big thing is going to be, I believe that in tough moments, you're not going to rise to the occasion. You're going to sink to the level of your training. And so we need to be training really, really well, where we as a staff are meeting about it a lot, finding specific things we need to be efficient at to be effective in the tournament. Us ourselves and us against the specific opponents we could be competing against. So I think the biggest thing is just taking advantage of every moment we have to prepare, because if we're not doing that, then we are preparing probably to fail. So just being really mindful with the time that we have, it's limited, and really urging our girls. I think I heard Kylie say it from outside, we've got one more week to train as a team here, and we don't want to be squandering the opportunity that we have to be in the gym. So we got to be giving everything we've got, every opportunity we get to be touching the ball and get to be on the floor here in Hearns.
Coach, so far, you've talked a lot about training in the past, different press conferences. And so how would you say the training for the past 2 weeks has compared to training before other matches this season?
It's been good. And I think what's been nice about the past couple of weeks of training that we've had is that we weren't necessarily preparing for an opponent. We finished somewhat early in SEC play, and it really allowed us to kind of put some focus on specifically what we need to be doing better as a team and what each individual needs to be doing better to be making the team better. And it's been really, really nice just to focus on ourselves rather than focusing on an opponent and how we're going to be effective against them. So a lot of skill work. It's almost like an off-season training block that we got to have for about a week and a half, which was fantastic. And really now it's just applying those new techniques that we're trying to mold and change a little bit, and applying those into 6-on-6 play and applying them against specific opponents. So, you got to be mindful when you train, and, you got to be bringing everything you got, especially emotionally and mentally, as well as physically. But our girls are doing a pretty good job. And, each day you're done with practice, it's like, man, one more opportunity that we had to get better is gone. And do we take advantage of it? And every time that one of those practices is over, we as a staff want to be saying, hell yeah, we took advantage of it. And we did that just now this morning. So far so good, but we got some more days to go. So maybe check in a couple of days. We'll see.
Go Bennett and then Ben Arnett.
Hey, yeah, I wanted to ask a little about the sort of the scouting mentality and talk with Andrea about this a bit too. When you know that who the second round opponent would be.
Hope I lost him.
The coaching mentality to keeping them focused on South Dakota while also knowing that there's a 24-hour turnaround if that's a win, and you've got to prep for.
Yeah, that's a great question. And And what's interesting is South Dakota and Ohio State are a little bit different. And, if you were training for similar teams, it would make your job just a tad bit easier. But as of now, we're only going to be presenting South Dakota scouting, and we're only going to be preparing for that opponent. When we as a staff already have things together on Ohio State, and, we watched a lot of volleyball last night after getting into the tournament on both opponents. And The biggest thing is making sure that we're taking things one step at a time. And maybe I'm a little too meticulous with this, but that goes down to everything. That goes down to one skill at a time throughout a play, 1 point at a time throughout a match, one set at a time. And you got to be breaking things down and taking care of each individual moment, as well as each individual opponent that we're currently facing. And if we do our jobs and take care of business and beat South Dakota that afternoon after that 11 a.m. match, we'll start preparing for Ohio State. And I think the big thing, I really like this question a lot, because I think volleyball is a very tactical sport, and you can really put yourselves in situations to be successful against an opponent based on their tendencies. But in what I've seen is in the tournament, it's going to be who wants it more. Every single match is just an absolute grind, and we're seeing it in men's and women's basketball tournament right now. And I think everyone's incredibly talented. All 48 teams in this tournament are incredibly talented. It's going to come down to our side of the net. And, we're putting a ton of emphasis on that this week leading into Omaha.
Since I'm no expert, how are they different, South Dakota and Ohio State?
Yeah, so it's a great question. South Dakota's area 4 attackers, so their outsides like our Kylie and Anna Dixon, they're dominant attackers, and they do a really nice job of attacking in system, out of system. And I think another big thing they do is they move their attackers around a lot. So they run a bunch of different play sets, which is going to require us as blockers to be really good with our eyes and identify those situations. Ohio State, probably one of the biggest teams in the tournament. They remind me a lot of Florida. They don't do anything incredibly special, but they do everything really well. And they're a really solid team, and they made a huge ripple and kind of wave in the Big Ten this year. So they are a team that if they are in system, they will overpower their opponent at all times. And so we've got to be very, very good at serving against Ohio State, getting them out of system. And when it comes to South Dakota, we need to do a good job of slowing down their outside attackers.
Thank you.
Hey, Josh, by the time you get to the South Dakota match, it'll be about 3 weeks since the regular season finale. But, those are 4 really big wins, probably must wins for you. What can you take from the close of the regular season and roll forward into the tournament?
That's a good question. I think that second match against A&M where we went 5, we kind of had to grind through some tough moments, and they were a completely different team in night 2 than they were night 1. And, that's similar to what the tournament's going to be, right? If you make it to day 2, you're playing a completely different team. So you got to be prepared for that. And you got to be disciplined with how you're performing and how good of a teammate you're being during the match. And I think the biggest thing is going to be, which has been nice about this STC play, is back-to-back nights, right? It's prepared us to, once this match is over, you've got to kind of let that go regardless of the result. You got to be ready for day 2. Obviously, if we lose day 1, we don't have to worry about day 2. But if we win that first match against South Dakota, we've got to let that go pretty quickly, start putting our focus on our next opponent. And that quick reset, which we've been doing, for however many months we've been playing now, I think has put us in a really good spot mentally to do that in the tournament against really great opponents. So I think that's kind of been the biggest takeaway from those last 4 matches that we won in conference.
Let's go to Matthew.
Coach, this is going to be a tournament unlike any other because of the bubble situation and everything going on with that, the limits on what you guys can do off the court. How are you going to help the team manage that and continue to kind of foster that team environment, even though you guys are going to be separated for most of the time?
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be odd. And everyone's going to be in their hotel rooms by themselves. We're going to get 27 hotel rooms. No one's going to have roommates, probably besides my wife and I. But so everyone's going to be by themselves. And I think the biggest thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be traveling with a ton of equipment. And our strength coach will be leading Zoom recovery lift sessions while our girls are in the hotel. Everyone will hop on Zoom. And although it's virtual, we're going to be, as a team grinding through tough moments. And, we're allowed to walk outside as a team and get some fresh air, but as much as possible, we got to be staying in our hotel rooms to, avoid any kind of exposure. So I think the biggest thing, and I think something that I am somewhat excited about when it comes to this COVID situation, is how much this is going to force us to rely on one another as a team. And in my opinion, that's a choice. And if you make a choice to be a great teammate, come tough situations in the match, you've already done it throughout life. So it's putting us in a good situation to rely on one another. when things kind of suck and you got to be in quarantine, so that when we get to a match and again in a tough moment, we've been there, done that. So I think the biggest thing, like you said, with kind of this new stressor, is finding ways to rely on one another as much as possible.
All right, let's go to Natalie.
Going off of what you just said there, what do you feel like prepared you this season for this moment? You get to the NCAA tournament. It's so different. It's probably going to be a little bit tough mentally. What do you feel like what do you feel like has prepared you for this point?
Oh man, everything, the social injustice stuff our girls had to witness, COVID, losing teammates. I think just an example. You see Tiana go down, and I think everyone's probably seen that video, and it's heart-wrenching. And when that happens, you don't get to just say, okay, let's come back and play Kentucky tomorrow. Let's kind of call this match quits. That was in the first 5 points. You got to go play a whole match after that. You got to be tough. You got to find a way to get through some adversity there. And that's the same thing with the social injustice. We got a world around us going crazy, but you got to be at practice, and you got to find a way to get better individually and as a team, and you got to be a good teammate. And at the same time, you got to be passing your classes so you're eligible to play. There's so many things our girls have had to leave off of the court to be good on the court. And I think they've been doing it, like I said, for how many months we've been playing now. And I think it's become a habit for them, which I think is an incredible habit that they're building prior to going out in the real world, because real world's a lot less forgiving than this, collegiate athletics. So all the stuff they've been through, there's not one singular event that says, okay, I'm confident they can do this. It's the things that they've overcome over a period of time consistently that really leave no doubt in my mind that we can handle something like an unprecedented tournament.
Any other questions for Coach?
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.